Oh, we're just gonna go.
Right.
Nice to meet you.
We are live. What did you guys think of that one?
We're live right now. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I've never smoked in my life. I feel like I need a pack of cigarettes right now. What did I
Yeah, that was something, as they say.
Or wasn't it?
I can't believe you do this to me and bring me on this episode because fuck this.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't even really know where to begin, but where would you guys like to start?
We want to start with the hard. We want to start with the fun stuff or the not so fun stuff.
Can we just start from the beginning? Look, I got notes on notes. Wait, what's this? An idle clue. Go jump in the river. This is not. I don't think this one's real, guys. I don't know. Ian, you take it away, bud.
I don't know. I mean, so right off the bat, well, it looks like Shannon is in the chat right now. So why don't we talk about that? What do you guys think of the surprise appearance, the idol recap with Shannon?
Like, it's my birthday or something. I love her so much, and to see her on my screen at the beginning to really, Murder Shannon wrote this mystery. I'm obsessed. I'm like so happy.
Yeah, I feel like I was watching a different season at first. I was like, did I click on the right video? And then I'm like, no, I've clicked definitely on the right video. And then we got her again later. Very happy to see her. Robbed? Why is she not on this season? Don't know. Won't talk about it, but very happy to see her. Very happy.
I needed that recap too. I was there when it happened. I was texting Ian last week. It's like, wait, who found which clue at what point again? Like, I'm a little confused. And Ian's like, Shannon's gonna explain in the next episode. I was like, oh, that's good because I forgot most of it.
Yeah, I realized that even the most hardcore people seemed a little confused about it. And so I was like, well, in general, throughout the season, there was a few times where it was like necessary to have a narrator to explain what was going on. And I decided who better than Shannon to do that, to have that role, and then we can have Shannon have sort of an appearance, even though she's not in the actual show.
Yeah. Hey, Austin. In the Maryland shirt too. Oh my.
What did you expect? Come on. Wait, are we already on the air? I have no idea.
Yeah. We just started.
Hello,
I'm
everyone.
sweating.
I don't know what's going on for anything. So it's I have a headache. I'm twisted and turned, and Shannon's actually going to be doing my recap for me too, so I called her on.
Well, why don't we start with the big, I guess maybe it's not the big thing, but the big thing that I'm sure people will be talking about, the leaks from Abby. What did you guys make of? Maybe we'll take what you guys thought of that, and then we'll talk a little bit about kind of how this all went down, and I'd be curious from you, George and Austin, once we talk a little bit, what you guys might have done in this situation.
Save mine for later. I've half my notes are on this, so come back to me.
I guess what were just your immediate reactions to this happening?
Why don't Naomi, you start with that one?
Yeah. Let me take it away. Well, First of all, I have to say that if you're that bitter about not getting cast on All Stars, maybe you didn't deserve to be on All Stars. I'm sorry. I know that's really mean to say, and I'm sorry, Abby. I know your feelings were probably very hurt and all that, but there's something about like the sanctity of the game. You join this community to participate, to let everybody have a fun time, and I think this really reminded me. I've been watching Traitors and how everybody's so pissed at the Traitors for lying. There was literally a hidden romance, like a hidden relationship in Traitors UK, and that's what this felt like in a lot of ways. But also it's really funny because not everybody found out. That's what's kind of gold about it, is that not everybody knows. So you have Will driving in his car being like, well, that was weird. I thought they broke up. And it's like kind of perfect.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I tried to get across with that Will confessional and then later Cooper telling Dylan and Aaron is that really it didn't actually spread that far.
Yeah.
Beyond the people that Abby told. They were told not to tell anyone, and they basically stuck to that. And it really, the irony of the situation, the horrible tragedy of it in a way, is that the only reason it starts to really spread is Megan deciding to tell Sam and Adam, and Sam tells Cooper, and Cooper tells Aaron, and this all kind of spirals back onto Sam.
Yeah. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. I also think that I mean, hey, we had to get the content. Did it suck that we did have to hear from Abby a bunch about it? Yes, but we kind of had to in order to understand it all. But she got what she wanted out of it too. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? She got her place on All Stars, and I'm almost like, ugh, like, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Yeah, I feel like it was one thing to do that, and then it was another to talk about the idol and like them being fake. Like they had already been screwed enough, and then now they're screwed even more. And I felt like the last 2 episodes specifically were really building up this like incredible showcase of Megan and Jackson. It wasn't even that they were lying about their relationship. It was just like their chaos of like Megan walking around with people as they find her boyfriend's fake immunity idols is incredible. If Jackson was there, he'd be like, but she's like, this guy, what have I done? What have I gotten myself into? And then it just got all blown up all at once. Luckily, neither of them go home this episode for it, thank God. But man, the damage is definitely felt.
Should I go?
Yes,
please, and then Austin, I'd die to know what you think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I first want to say that you can't account for human behavior. Anything can go wrong anytime, and there's no good solution when something like this happens. So I acknowledge that from any production standpoint, any player standpoint, that like there's no right or wrong answers on how to handle these things. We shouldn't have to handle these things, and I think the goal is usually to prevent them, which is a whole nother conversation that I have many questions about. But I for one felt really bad for everyone, and in terms of the question of like how to handle this. So I've never actually talked about this publicly, but during All Stars, Maryland All Stars, there was a moment where right before the merge. So if people remember, if they've seen All Stars before, sorry, tune out for like 30 seconds if you don't want spoilers. We had the partner duo, which is obviously big secrets in the game, and Shannon was very distrustful of the Shubal Victoria partnership. Just didn't think that was real. And Sabrina got voted out. And in between that episode and the merge, her and Shannon hang out because they'd just become really good friends. And Sabrina, like I think, was drunk and tired and like leaked out that Shubal was her partner. Shannon already was distrustful about this, but she obviously got the information confirmed for real, and that changed a lot. And I got texted by that to, I think Shannon did inform me, which is a big thing. I think that's something that the players could have done better, is like, you have to take ownership of the situation too, and you want the game to be fair. And I have questions about what happened there. The way we ended up going about it was I talked to Shannon about it, and then I said that I was going to inform Shubal about it because he was the main person who was directly impacted, and basically say we're going to disclose this information to Shubal so that he's aware with it. I'm asking, like, basically I think the choice is either to keep it contained to everyone or no one. You have to decide, like, if like can you minimize the spread so that it never, like, it's like containing the virus, doesn't get out anywhere, or you have to make sure everybody's aware so they can mitigate the threat. The hard part for this is that it's landed somewhere in between, and certain people are playing with more information than others. So I am curious into how the conversation went once it get out, because I can understand the impetus of like, I don't want everybody to know, I don't want it to cause as much as possible, but at the same time, if certain players unfairly got advantages from it, it's hard to weigh. So what we ended up doing was, it actually, I mean, in some ways it did, I think, result in why Shubal and Shannon ended up becoming really close, because Shubal was basically able to just say like, yep, I'm owning up, here's what I've lied about, and here's what's actually happening. And Shannon agreed not to tell anybody else and not to use it to inform her decision. So it worked out okay in that case. But I could easily see how it could have blown up and ruined the whole game there. So, I mean, no one's immune to this kind of thing happening at any level when you're dealing with players who were voted out or players who weren't in the cast or production having a widespread. So that was a long ramble to say, like, I don't know what the right answers are, but I'm curious for you guys what you did once you found out, besides freak out, which of course everybody would do.
And showed us your freak out.
Yeah. So there was a lot of
Can I just say, I'm kind of mad at you guys that I had to watch an org for some of this episode.
My God.
Like,
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of, I mean, to be totally honest, when this all first went down, the original intent from production was to like try and like basically either pretend it hadn't happened, or originally they like, the reason why, like, for example, there's nothing from Bailey in this episode about this, even though it gets said that Bailey was one of the people that's told. That's because originally Prada told everyone, don't film anything about this. This didn't happen. Basically, like, we're trying to pretend this didn't really happen.
Right.
And I I didn't have a lot of clout on production, but I always knew that was never going to work, basically. So I had reached out to Megan and Jackson and made sure that at least they were talking about it, or otherwise nothing. I knew that nothing was going to make any sense. But regardless, essentially the idea was at first we pretty much told Megan and Jackson what happened, and then told the people who had been told, so Bailey and Emily B, not to tell anyone else, which they didn't, but it's still kind of screwed over, certain aspects of things. It screwed over is the wrong word for it, because I don't really think that long term that it's hard to say exactly what would have happened, but directly impacted this episode. No one necessarily goes home because of this information, but the whole thing would have been different if it hadn't happened. It's hard to say exactly what would have happened otherwise.
I will say also, at the end of the day, it does suck, and I won't say it makes it better, but this is what makes like College Survivor so interesting and engaging, is that like it's not a full CBS team that can like keep track of that and mitigate it. Like there is some blemishes there, and it can impact the story. And honestly, when you think about it, at the end of the day, this tie vote happens a little bit in part because of that. And it does lead to some interesting stuff. Ends don't justify the means, but at least there is some like, I don't know. I always like the differences between the real show and College Survivor. It is basically kids putting on a game for kids. At the end of it, we're not kids, but young people.
And,
I felt like at this episode, oh my god, with beer pong and
okay, we're not kids.
I'm exhausted right now. Go to bed.
Something I wanted to say about this was that this season, it's not just about college students playing Survivor. It's about college students putting on Survivor.
Right.
And not everything is as perfect as you'd want it to be. But the scenario I tried to go with was this thing happened. It kind of sucked from a gameplay standpoint. But truly from a TV and editing standpoint, it led to a lot of really, really exciting stuff. And I kind of was like, as an editor, I'm just going to lean into it. And yes, from a game theory standpoint and stuff, it might not have been the right thing to do to give Abby screen time, or kind of she gets the episode title and that kind of stuff. I know that some people will think it's like giving her what she wants, but from an editing standpoint, I'm like, she kind of got what she wanted. And there's not much I'm not a game master. I'm a storyteller. And to tell the best story, you kind of have to have a good villain. This episode wouldn't be as good if Abby wasn't in it.
I also feel like who among us is not a like theater kid? And for me, when I was a part of a lot of student run productions where there was a whole lot of drama all the time. And I think that you cannot control, as you said, people's actions. And in some ways, you're just trying your best. I think you guys did do a good job. I also think that it's really fascinating to watch people like Emily B and Bailey say, okay, I won't say anything. Like they're playing very honest. And then you see someone like Cooper weaponize it. And then you see Megan weaponize it. It's really fascinating the ways that everybody took this opportunity.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised that Megan and Jackson didn't say like, yeah, whatever, we're just going to tell everyone, because I feel like I'd be so terrified not knowing who knows and who doesn't, and being sure maybe they trusted.
It's weird because like, Matthew, do you want to talk?
I was going to say like they didn't trust. Like we told them that only Bailey and Emily B knew, and we had a whole conversation with them. They weren't happy. Very understandable. Like everybody on production was sick to their stomach as well. Like nobody was going to be pleased with the situation. Bailey and Emily weren't happy that we told Jackson and Megan that they knew, but we had to tell them like it was the fairest thing we could do to try to fix a situation that was already broken. We can't put the pieces back together. The glass was already shattered.
Everybody was mad. Everyone was mad. Megan and Jackson were obviously furious. And it's funny, a lot of people in the live chat said, why don't you give them a bunch of idols? That's actually what Jackson asked for. Jackson's his very first response was just, if you give us each 3 idols or something along those lines, then we'll call it even.
Where are they? What's going on here? I think we're all in agreement that's the fair thing here. How about this? You give him 1 idol per 5 fake idols he has, and then we call it a day. Like that's
Bailey. Sorry.
It's okay. I was just gonna pitch that every like all the cats that keep appearing in the show are the idols.
Yeah.
Not the cones, but the cats.
A lot of pets this season for sure.
Yeah.
So many.
I think that it's really interesting in terms of like there are lessons about running College Survivor that are in this episode, and it's been. I mean, I clearly know why you invited me out to this panel. and to see what happened with the production sense. And it's funny because like I think one thing that's changed since I ran it is that like these clubs built out into like full executive boards and huge communities, and that was something that like I was kind of running it as a one-man show with like a very small crew, which I think there's so many upsides in terms of community it builds, the conversations people have, the connections they make, and they should absolutely make, and it's a really good thing. But this is the downside you have, where when you have a big production team, and like I remember going to later seasons of Maryland, and there's like 20 people standing there in the group chats getting all the information, and like 2 of them are filming. I was like,
Yeah,
I could do the same thing with 2 people and have much fewer leaks and have people who are focused. And it's a really hard balance because like this isn't for $1 million. It's not the end of the world. But like I think something we all find value in is how much everybody cares about the game, and so anything that goes against that really hurts that. And like that's for me. Like I enjoyed Abby's antics in the sense of that, but like I find it really hard to like people who are like, I don't take this seriously, whatever. It sort of invalidates why we're doing this and why people spend so much time in. So I just have a hard time with the sort of like troll aspect of it. And from a production sense too, like it's just really tough when people go that far. And it's a lesson for people, I think, to really be smart in running these shows of like, if this is something that you care about. If you don't care if this happens, then that's fine. But like, you really have to be careful and strategic about who gets the information and who has access to things, because especially if they have connections to players, it can get really dangerous.
Yeah, I think that I mean, obviously there's also the whole like, boyfriend angle, which we can also get into. But I think truly no one just had nothing like this had ever happened before, and I'm living with Cooper this whole time, and all of my roommates knew everything that was going on for the most part. No one ever told Cooper anything. A lot of other people, there was a lot of adjacent people who knew what was going on, who weren't telling people stuff. And I think that we just lived in kind of a bubble and we didn't realize could be broken,
Yeah. I'll just say that like this stuff literally also happens in Survivor New York. It happens in a 2-day game with people's friends or just producers that you think you can trust. And then you hear that, oh, they were kind of giving me a little bit of too friendly advice, right? It happens in every organization, I think. I think we saw it in like UVA, shit hits the fan, I think, in every game, and it's how you handle it and what you do with it that really matters.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you guys being like open and honest about it and not hiding from the storyline on it, because I think it's very easy to do that as production and be like, here, we're going to ignore the warts and the flaws, but it was an important part of the episode and the story for sure. It will be going forward, and like we have to acknowledge that we have faults. And that's okay. So, I mean, we don't have to belabor it forever, but it was certainly, my jaw was on the floor with the entire situation.
Yeah.
I was standing. I was like, well, what is this?
Huh? I mean, it was shocking in real life as well. We were flabbergasted. And then, you see that it just keeps going on. Like we thought it had all been tampered down, and then it's, and she's also telling Sam about the fake idol. I mean, what is like? It was just like this.
Nobody told Abby.
Can I just ask why? So why did Noah tell Abby and not Bailey?
Well, Noah. I mean, obviously he didn't tell Bailey because Bailey's.
He was not going to tell Bailey stuff because he told Abby because she wanted to know what was going on. It's in the same way that my roommates or other people who are peripheral want to know what's going on, and people, Abby wasn't on prod for All Stars, but like the other people who didn't get onto All Stars were like Richard was on production, Sarah Minnis was on production, and so I think that he just didn't think it would be an issue to tell her. I don't know. Which totally wasn't. In retrospect, it's like it seems obvious, but I don't really pin a lot of blame on him, even though
there's no rule that you can't like. Should there have been? Probably. We definitely should have been a little.
I was going to say that the rule can exist.
Yes. I mean, it can't exist, but also like I can't track people and make sure they're not saying like everybody wants to know what's going on. People tell their friends a little bit of info, but to tell somebody as close to the players as Abby, like, it was not a great idea.
And it's
didn't intend for it to happen. Yeah.
It's All Stars 2, and like a lot of these people had been on production for other seasons. Like it's just so amorphous and just like insane. If this happened on like a regular season, like a newbie season, it's definitely handled completely.
Well, it wouldn't is the thing. It just there's nowhere it wouldn't in the same way, and I think that's part of what like, that's what's interesting about it in a certain sense. But it does lead to some good conversations. The Megan and Sam scene where she's going through this revelation that she, like they had like real talks like like breakup talks, you know, like I'm coming with my friend telling him I had this bad breakup and we're going to talk for hours about my breakup. And this was months and months before the game. And so it's like, to me, that was a really interesting scene that I don't know if we get that scene necessarily otherwise.
Yeah.
Do we have to drop? I want the footage of them talking about the breakup and poor Megan having to lie her little face off.
Why would I don't think they would have filmed it?
They didn't film
it. She should have known.
I'm gonna set this camera up.
She played the long game. It's the long game, right? She said I was doing this to prepare. I couldn't just pretend.
But what would have been her rationale for filming it at the time?
You know what? These could be good content. He's like, I feel kind of icky about this. I don't want to record. No. Great content. I will talk about this on camera for sure.
You don't document all of your friendships just in real time, 24/7.
I assume that's what everyone does these days. Also, can I just say in my notes, I say Jackson finding out about this, Emily B and Jackson talking is like American Psycho business card scene. Like his face just like twitches a little bit, and you're just like, oh my god, he's gonna kill someone.
We have to just like drop the Megan nice girl thing entirely because she dragged along Sam with this for months and then like is then ready to just completely turn on him in the episode because of what she did to him. I certainly felt very bad for Megan throughout the episode and loving what she's bringing all season. But the switch from like completely innocent, naive girl to like the most cutthroat assassin is kind of unbelievable.
It's being adjacent to Jackson for so long. She's just like, I have to, I'm doing it. Like she does give, we must give credit to where credit is due. This is all her. But I think just the like adjacent evilness in that shirtless man's like, aura just wore off on her. And she's like, yeah, screw it. Let's go. I'm lying to Sam for months.
This comment is true. It's actually a mistake, I guess. I meant to switch the orders of the number he reads of the votes. Basically just for the episode, I decided very early on, as soon as it happened, basically that like the Pawnee trial was going to go second. Definitely. It was never going to end on the Odawa trial.
that would be such a downer if that happens. And it's like, all right, by the way, we have one more thing we have to do.
Well, isn't it like the Tyson Boot and Heroes vs. Villains? Then they're just like, all right, now time for pizza.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and also some people were saying that it was like a complete lie that Andrew could have gone home. That's like not a complete lie. I mean, it'll get explained in the next episode, but what you were saying, it is something that was seriously considered and then just doesn't happen, So it's not completely made up. And I think you'll see Nick's and others' views on whether or not they should have.
24 hours tribal council did not help the Andrew plan.
Sure. I will say in my dream scenario, I thought he was still getting votes, and I thought like he would pick up the cone, and underneath would be the idol that he might have that we don't know if it's him or Emily who had. That would be incredible. And if everyone's like, "Oh, I hate you. You're so stupid. You're playing this," he's like, "Oh yeah, well the Adam podium idol is real from Winners at War. Here we go, boys. It's the real idol now." All right. I think we talked about the Abby thing. I'm drained.
I was just gonna say real quick, who do we think has the real idol, Andrew or Emily B? Just quick between the three people that don't know.
I don't enjoy the chat speculating, but I think that Emily B has it because that's such an elaborate fake idol. It's literally an instrument. How could that be fake?
If we're going by the paper thing, I thought Andrew had the sort of like nice tainted paper with the actual clue. So I was assuming it was Andrew, but maybe I completely misviewed it.
I'll just say I don't think the paper will have much to do with the outcome. The papers, I believe, should look the same.
Yeah, it's the exact same. Whoever.
Okay, it looked like a blank piece of paper.
They're both using the same paper.
Yeah.
One of them gave the other one the paper, so the paper is going to be exactly the same.
Would Emily do that? I don't know. Would Crouch do that? Yes, he would. And I think that just for, like whatever happens. But if we get Emily with a fake Lorax idol and now a fake Pringles, like too juicy. I need that. So kind of want Andrew to have it, but also kind of want Emily to have it because she deserves it at this point. Like she's been made fun of enough for it and she deserves the idol. So we'll see.
I have to say in my notes that it says, I can't believe that was the ramifications of Cooper's party. When you put in the edit last week that you guys were getting pissed drunk and we saw Cooper in his skivvies again, 3 episodes in a row now, right? I was like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. And then it was just like Abby. And it's like, wait, you're telling me nobody got into a fight?
Well, I will say that it got cut because it had really nothing to do with the episode. It was already long enough as it is. But there was a big drama between Cooper and Crouch that went down during the party due to some drunken escapades that will be in the deleted scenes or whatever.
Oh God, that's another pack of cigarettes I'd have to smoke this episode. Jesus Christ.
That's a whole different thing. But
that party also made me feel so old because in Maryland we had 90s parties and then you guys had 2000s parties and I was like, God damn it! Like all of this.
I know. My note says, "Where were you all in the 2000s?"
Yeah. And then the 2000s was a 2010 song. And we're like barely in the 2000s. We're in 2010s.
Well, why don't we get into what do people think about, Megan having to tell Sam and Adam this and just kind of the fallout from all of this?
Jeez.
Oh, man.
Where do I start? Okay, I will start with this. First of all, I initially was not on Team Jackson because anyone who takes their shirt off on camera, I'm not here for. Cooper, I'm still hanging on with you, but it's 3 for 3 now, bud.
Wrong.
So I wasn't, but I really came around on him, especially now that I feel really bad. With Megan, this was her breakout episode for sure. And although it sucked that she had to deal with all that, I don't think you could have picked a better person to do it. I think a lot of other people would have played it off differently, tried to dig a little bit deeper. I don't know. They would do something else. But I think she's I think she has a huge history of being an honest person and being like that. So I think she had a lot of genuine moments with people, even though it was real. It was rough to watch that whole almost long takes shot of her and Sam. But yeah, definitely feel for both of them. But yeah, I'm happy that she was the one who had to deal with it because they both came out not unscathed, but at least okay. We'll see how it continues though. Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's true. True.
Yeah.
I've been this is not exactly on Megan, but since I already voiced my thoughts on how much of a savage she is, I just want to say, I picked Sam as my top draft pick preseason, and I mean it's just been 3 episodes of smooth sailing and really
How are you feeling about that pick? How are you feeling about that pick?
Running the game without a hitch. I mean, we've got all the right texts, all the right conversations. Oh my God, it's been an absolute roller coaster. But I'm stunned that he survived this week, and I feel like this actually will be his upswing where he has the connections to get through, and he just needed to survive this one vote. I feel like Megan did screw her game tonight because she recovered really well from the whole Abby gate, but it's sort of the classic situation of when you reveal your hand and then flip back, you just lose trust with those people. She'll never have the trust with Sam anymore. And there's so many reasons why her and Jackson now can be painted as threats so easily by anyone. And giving more people a reason not to trust you just within the game itself, I think is really going to hurt her. So a lot of people in the chat were saying that the best move was to take out Sam. And I think that makes sense from an overall game perspective. But for Megan, I just didn't think that was the case because she's trying to keep a low profile. And I don't think latching on to Aaron and Dylan would help. And especially when now Aaron's gone or Dylan's gone. And Aaron
definitely have to
have capital either.
You have to commit. If she already did it, she has to commit, and you can see it immediately after the vote. Sam pats only Adam on the back, doesn't even talk to Megan. It looks like clearly she's still on the bottom of that. I think she just couldn't pull the trigger. But if you already loaded the chamber, you have to shoot the bullet. You can't just be and then put it down. You have to go through.
You're saying she should have gone to rocks?
I'll say I don't know if Adam would have flipped, so I think it might have gone to rocks. And I just
definitely definitely. That's what I mean.
Can you justify going to rocks that early?
That she shouldn't have done it in the first place. But once she does it, she has to commit. There's you can't she's now screwed her.
If she rocks out there, it's I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
The biggest fault was just telling Adam, really. Like, the move works.
Yes.
Sure,
she
yes,
doesn't tell
absolutely.
Adam.
Absolutely. She shouldn't have done that.
AJ,
Yeah.
I'm shocked by how frequently we will see a scene and then Ian, we will cut to a scene of somebody being like, so this person told me this information, like Nick talking to Cooper, and I'm sitting here going, what the fuck am I watching? Wait a minute. Like, I thought we just came up with the plan that didn't involve Cooper and now he's in on it, and this is exactly how I felt watching this too. I was like, Megan told Adam, and like, I love AJ. I think they're so funny. They kill me, and them finding an idol. I have so many, like, I felt so proud to watch someone who constantly floundered, and then they constantly floundered again by revealing to Megan that Megan was on the bottom, which is like, oh my god.
Hey, can we even trust that it's real? Who knows at this point?
We have the music.
That idol is real, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, all right. I had the caption.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just feel like Megan made. I mean, I actually thought I laughed really hard when Megan was in the library being like, wherever it was, being like, I think I have to tell Aaron. And I was like, oh my god, Megan's gonna get voted out. She's gonna walk out of that room and they're gonna vote her out. But that didn't happen. And it was a lot of like loose lips sink ships.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of lips and mouths, and also, I mean, to your point, no one on Survivor Michigan can keep a secret, including the production. So
live it to themselves, yeah.
Except for Cooper. Cooper kept his phantom vote, so
we do have to talk about Sam flipping is an incredible move, and it takes a lot of courage to flip on a set plan vote. At the last second, you have no idea what's going to happen. You could talk yourself into a million different bluffs and counter moves. To actually do that is really hard. And Sam, I feel like, is having a very early season Chris Thomas run. And like, this is the kind of thing that I think Chris was always really good at. It's just like making split decisions and trusting the gut on that. And I mean, it literally saved Sam. So that was a really incredible moment from a gameplay perspective that could so easily not happen. And like, I feel like there's a lot of players who would take the safe option there for pretty good reason, because it'll work most of the time, but he had the courage to do that.
Yeah, if you drafted just like last 5 minutes of an episode, Sam, versus everything else, you're golden, because every last 5 minutes, Sam's like, he's pulled it out.
Yeah.
Everything else, I don't know.
Underrated. It gets buried in everything else going on in this episode, but he gets away seemingly scot-free of his old Tom, Emily Paddock shenanigans, because not only does Emily Paddock believe him, but then she gets voted out as well.
And Cooper believes Sam's story too.
Absolutely insane.
I know, that was crazy, especially like I know Emily pretty darn well, and like to hear her be kind of fooled by Sam, I feel like that was the vulnerability. Like, Sam of all people is somebody I know that she's very close with, and it almost felt like, getting fooled by your friends, and I was really shocked that she bought that. And I'm also really fast, we'll get to it later, but like the way that the dynamics really affect each other on each tribe, and how nosy everyone is on every other tribe is killing me. I love it.
So nosy.
Well, I mean, this is the peak of what college Survivor is supposed to be from the one world perspective. Like, and you always see this with the All-Star seasons. Like, when people care that much, they're living this 24/7. All you can do is think of the other tribes. On Real Survivor, that just means they're sitting there thinking about it. On College Survivor, they can actually go have conversations and make it happen. So it's always fun to see the cross tribe overlap. And I was having a hard time making sense of like what each person's motivations in that were, because it seems like some people just wanted to be the Joker and sow chaos regardless, but others had a specific motive to who to get out. But those seem to conflict so many times. I mean, Cooper is basically just will not stop unless he's dictating where every vote goes on every tribe. So he's got, I'm sure, has a million different plans up his sleeve, but that has to backfire at some point.
Lots of main character
sleeves. He's taking
syndrome.
his shirt off all the time.
Yeah,
can we blur it out?
There's a lot of main character syndrome to go around in Survivor Michigan for sure.
Definitely.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else we should discuss with just the production aspect, or should we go into like the challenge or something else that was happening?
Ooh, the challenge. Oh my god.
The challenge. Well, I just I wanted to say that I found somebody had mentioned it sort of earlier in the chat about how like really the stories we're getting now is Megan is somehow kind of becoming a little bit of a villain, and Jackson is now the underdog, and it's this fascinating like of their stories and who they are as people. And I am so, everyone's like, we didn't get an Aaron and Emily Paddock resolution. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? That's old news. Like, this is what's important right now. And it's so good.
Totally.
Yeah, the Aaron and Paddock stuff is like you would have liked to have seen them have some kind of, you know, resolution between each other, but I think ultimately the way it plays out between both of them, it makes sense in the context of their overall stories.
Yeah.
Wait, you weren't going to come on mid-season and say like that it was pour one out and yeah. Sorry.
No, I mean, I would have loved to see. I would have loved to have them get in the same tribe. You don't have some big brouhaha go down, but like, I also think that some of those season 3 story is that, you know, that carrying on that stuff can lead to some bad things. And I kind of think that that sort of works for certain things, you know, in their story as well.
And you kind of see the reverse with Will almost. Like he's just like, I am not discounting anyone now. Like complete 180 from what was going on before. So like maybe that plays out in some way, but he's doing basically the opposite, I think, of what Emily was doing. So we'll see how it gets him.
I guess, what are your people's thoughts on that 4 that came together on Sangria? Like, there were some overtures about if they didn't go to travel might be a bad thing. Do we think that's a head fake, or do we think that 4 is like going to be pretty solid?
Can I tell you my notes say, everyone laughed when I drafted Will, but look who is laughing now. Will is firmly in the middle of his tribe. He is like just so well connected to everybody. And I am raking in those sweet, sweet draft points. So suck it. That's all I have to say to the rest of the people who I drafted with. I love it.
I'm trying to think, because like, yeah, we have Leia, Brie, Emily B, and Will, but then kind of like Emily B, Will, and Kevin, and obviously just Jackson on the outs. And like, I don't know, there's like a lot of inner like personal stuff there. I don't think it's just as simple as everyone's working together in different ways as Jackson. But I can really never tell because it feels like I've like only seen Will in his car. It's just Will in his car talking to himself. So like, yeah, he talks to other people and we get it for a second, but I feel like I know more about what Will thinks about Will than what he's actually going to be doing. So we'll see. But Will in the car is my top 3 storyline right now. I want to see where it goes. I hope he doesn't crash because he's doing a lot of talking and driving. Will, I hope you're okay, bud.
It seems like that's the tribe where the lower threat people are coming together. That's, you know, the sort of historic view of what happens in an all-star season, and that's the one where like, and Leah's not a low-key threat. She's a known player from season 1, but I wouldn't say she's one of the top known threats in the entire cast. But she also seems like the one who's most in danger of that. So I feel like the especially some of the, you know, the Wills and Brees and Kevins and Emily B's have, whether they've said this overtly or not, like established themselves as banding together against some of the bigger threats and probably won't be targeted for a long time as a result of that. So it seemed genuine to me, but I'm willing to see things flip on their heads 7 times in the next week.
Yeah, whoever said that Will is like the James Corden carpool karaoke this season wins my comment of the episode.
That was me.
Live chat. Oh yeah. Genius. I thought it was, and then I was like, wait, what if I'm wrong? I laughed my ass off.
That's so good. I really like Brie and Emily together. I think that's a great duo. Love seeing them on there because I feel like they definitely like they had so much potential in their original season. Every time they were on screen, they had like good confessionals. They were funny, and now they're like, actually, okay, we're here to play, and they get to do it together, and they're funny. So I hope something happens with that. And maybe Emily has even an idol right now, so maybe she really is living it up.
Poor Jesse.
Dude, poor Jesse. I almost forgot about Jesse, and that's actually really sad because I never want to forget about Jesse. Like that's like
she's too good for this.
Yeah, she's way too good. She's the ultimate fly on the wall. She's on the wall in the next room. Like she's just hanging out.
Yeah, and still flipping off
like
Jackson.
We just need Jesse to be like 25% more like active of a player, and she'd be like the greatest player of all time. But she's just slow enough to not quite get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has like incredible reads. Like whatever she is doing it, she always like is right. She's just not like doesn't at this stage at least is not putting in quite as much as some of the others might be.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever said the part-time Survivor player line, it was an excellent line because like it's exactly what toes the line between like It's roasting someone's game, but it doesn't say anything bad about her as a person.
Yeah.
And was that Kevin? Is Kevin?
It was
pointing?
Will. That was
yeah.
Will.
Oh, Will. Okay, all right. Props to Will.
I think Will has some very funny.
He had a
reads.
lot of time to think
He
about
does.
that in the car. So yeah.
He's like
I was-
driving for miles.
He just goes in a circle until he's done. I also feel like that's a really common thing. Maybe not so much in All Stars, but like part-time Survivor player is like 1 or 2 people every cast. I feel where you're like, man, I casted these people because they're like really entertaining, but will they be as engaged with other people? Maybe not so much, but you'll get some good confessionals out of them. So I mean, either way, she's giving. Like she's definitely giving. So I'm okay with that. You're always gonna have, if you have 40 Coopers, you can't breathe. But she's doing the best she can. Maybe she'll have a cool arc where she starts playing heavier, but I'm pretty content still either way.
If you had 100 Coopers in the room, you just need one Jesse to believe in you. I don't know. It's a stupid joke. Can we talk about the challenge? Oh my god.
Let's talk about the challenge.
This was, I think it was Brady's, was it, Ian? I believe Brady, I think in the beginning, we each kind of like, each producer had a challenge that was kind of theirs, and I think this one was Brady's.
Yeah, it was.
Ian's was the Legos, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, mine was the Legos.
Yeah, you brought Legos to college, Ian?
No, I went back to my parents' house and got them.
Okay.
For the challenge.
Even better.
My parents lived like 20 minutes from campus, so it wasn't that hard.
I
remember that afterwards, Odawa, this is going back to the last episode, but Odawa was complaining that it was unfair because they had these Star Wars characters they didn't know. And I was just like, I just never internalized. I just didn't like think that anyone like wouldn't know who Chewbacca was. Like I just never considered that. Because like each of them had Star Wars characters in it. And I just didn't think that like, I guess Chewbacca was particularly obscure or that they wouldn't be able to explain it somehow.
That's fair. That's on them.
Oh my god.
This was definitely my favorite challenge. It went long, but I was happy because I got to see all the dares like go through like really effectively. Maybe could do with less foot licking, but that's just me. But I really liked the idea of like all these like weird dares that had to like it was a game within a game, and then you also got to like dish out idle clues. And yeah, poor Bailey, poor us for having to watch it too. By the way, but yeah, I thought it was I don't know. I thought it was a really I love when College Survivor does like stupid different challenges. We do the scavenger hunt, that's really fun. Like just going with the creative opportunity, since we don't have a anyone down our throat being like, no, this has to be like ad friendly. We're just like, nah, lick a foot, whatever. And yeah, by the way, about that comment, if I ever had to do that phone call, like I'm disowned. Brie was already gonna get disowned and then acted her ass off. For some reason decided, yeah, I'm just gonna screw my life over and go hard on this. There was nothing in the rules that said I must become an actor for this, but she decided it's time.
That's what she does, right? She's an acting major, theater major, right?
She's incredible. Yeah, she was great.
I was shocked none of them cracked in those phone calls. It was insane.
Have you guys ever done that before? I did that once for April Fool's Day. I told my mom I was pregnant. It was funny. It was so funny.
Did you do it unprompted? Like you just
it was
did
April Fool's Day, and I like woke her up, and I was like, "Mom."
my mom would flip out. I would never do that.
Ian, I don't know if these are in the secret scenes, but I think we have footage of them calling their parents afterwards, and that was almost just as emotional.
I don't think I have that. I don't think I have that footage.
Oh, I need the relief. Somewhere. I need to know everyone's okay.
I'll see if I can find it, and maybe we'll do it as a super bonus scene, or we'll put it in the Discord or something like that. But I think those were pretty funny too.
If you can find it, I'll put it in. I just
I don't
remember seeing that footage.
Someone in the comments can, I'm sure, chime in if there's some other random episode that had a different thing in this somewhere. But this had to be the most college challenge in College Survivor history. Like there is literally nothing else that could be more college than this. Like not the scavenger hunt, because that like is sort of, you could do that in a lot of places. Yeah. This was it. This was college. I was sitting there like, what? Like I'm being transported back into time, and even like the static kissing, which I've never heard it described that way, is my new favorite descriptor. Can we have it static? What does that mean? Like, what? They couldn't just like give themselves 7 seconds of like enjoying it a little bit, or like they had to just be just literally sitting.
What show
there.
are you watching? Whoa!
No. I just mean,
Austin's out here. He wants like full tug on these.
Yeah, he
on
wants.
these, you know?
Yeah, this is.
We don't need to go
whoa.
French, but we're just like, what
at
is
least
this
Kevin and Nick
static?
had
Like,
some passion the first time around. Like,
it was like
no Maggie
everybody
Jeremy.
was then it went from college to back into middle school, and like I don't know if Brady planned all the dares or
hold
something.
hands.
I mean, I think this could be built on of like if anybody's seen I think it was season 2 of the Mole where they have the challenge where like the original Mole where there's like these it's kind of similar from like a dares perspective. It's like shaving your head or doing all these things. I feel like there's room for growth in terms of like it doesn't all have to be making out or mouth related, but it did fit the theme of the episode, so I won't hate on it there.
I just here are my notes. Ian in the basketball shorts and flip flops clocked you. Episode title: I trust your feet. Sarah and Cooper in particular have extremely funny reactions to the pregnancy phone call. Kevin goes 33% tits, 0% ass, 67% fear, and then sinks it. And my question is, whose parents do you think reacted the worst? Like, at knowing this cast, do you have an idea of whose parents maybe would have freaked out?
I remember that Leia said afterwards that if she had to do it, she thinks her mom would have busted down the door within about like 10 minutes. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know whose parents would have been the worst about it, but
Matthew, any thoughts?
I'm trying to think. I don't.
He blocked
met everybody's parents or anything like that, but
you haven't?
I have not. We don't. There's no parents challenge this season. So that would be pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it could be good for a loved one challenge. We should see them later on.
You can't tell them until the loved ones visit. So they show up and they have a gun and they're like, "Yo, what have you been doing on this show?" And you're like, "No, it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
It's just college, Mom. It's just college.
It's just college."
Wild.
Nobody pulled their kid from Survivor or anything like that. So
medevac.
Yeah, are we gonna see a whole mono storyline later on? Like, is that gonna have spread throughout, or maybe like Lucy's COVID variant?
September 2019.
No spoilers. No spoilers. Can't say.
Next season.
You can't say tits, ass, or fear. Ass is my answer, Jacob.
There is, I think, in the post-episode poll that might be a question. So.
You can go to
has a strong opinion.
If you want to take that.
Yeah. Austin, didn't somebody like write an article about how Survivor Maryland was maybe dangerous, and then like they should see this?
There was a college Survivor hit job.
That was awful. I got interviewed for that too.
They hit jobbed a lot of people. Yeah.
Wait, what is this? I've never heard of this.
Some like campus newsletter thing just decided to do an absolute hit job on college Survivor, that it was like the most unsafe thing in human history, and like completely twisted, like a full hit piece of like misusing quotes and not like making stuff up. And like, I was like, I didn't say that quote. And it was so bad. And they framed the piece when they interviewed us as like a positive story about college Survivor. And then no, it's the secret investigative journalism.
I was like, Mom, I'm famous. There's this article that's going to come out. And then it comes out. I'm like, Mom, do not read this article. Do not read this.
It was probably Abby. Abby probably wrote it.
So true. Yeah, Abby actually planted the article as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. That kills me. Also, Dylan is the Babe Ruth of Survivor Michigan is another note I have written down, where he just calls a shot and then sinks it. That was great.
Yeah. Good. Dylan, you guys want to talk a little about Dylan's game? Because I thought that Dylan had a really interesting game at All-Stars, where somehow, despite being the only winner on the cast, he's like still being underrated. And even in this episode, you see that no one seems to know. Aaron's connections seem widely publicized, but I tried to emphasize in the edit that Dylan has a lot of these cross-tribe connections as well that just aren't being discussed.
Yeah, no one even mentioned, like, I feel like barely ever that he was a winner. Like, outside of anything else, outside of connections, outside of anything, nobody was like, we got to get the winner out. Like, definitely. Everyone's just like, it's Dylan, like, whatever. I don't know if that speaks to, like, his specific season and, like, how people viewed Aaron over him, maybe, and the fact that they were on the same tribe, so people focused more on the fact that they're like, oh, probably Aaron would have won that season if she made the end, and Dylan's just like a, lovable Joyce guy as opposed to like a strategic mastermind. But you are right. He's like an incredible social player. And like went out with his head held high. I think like a lot of people didn't want to do what they did to get him out. So I mean, that speaks volumes to how people viewed him, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, no one. I guess Adam and Lucy were talking about voting him out earlier in the episode, but like, really, he really was not meant to go at all.
Yeah,
you know.
I'll miss him.
I'll miss him so much. I love Dylan. The highlight reel at the end, just like I was like, damn, I should watch season 3 again. just the Dylan edit, like.
So now that he's out, are we able to get any? Or I guess there was something where they didn't really want to talk about it. But is there any more context that is skippable to the Lucy Dylan thing? It was kept being hinted at, but it's sort of odd.
I mean, I kind of I would have preferred if we didn't hint at it as much as we did, just because like I think it was something that was there was a version of the episodes where it was in there. At the time, as soon as it happened, right afterwards, Lucy and Dylan both called me and said, please don't put that in the episode. And I kind of thought that Time would weather that and they wouldn't mind so much when the show came out. And then I asked them again a few months ago and they both were like, no, please don't put that in. So I don't know there's much more I can say about it really, but except that it's not something that's that big of a deal. It wouldn't really color your impression either of them negatively. It's really just like the kind of college beef that people have with like certain like dramas with mutual friends. And there's really, I really don't know how much more I could go into it, but it did color it where essentially they were just mad at each other from outside the game, and that was going to contribute to them wanting to vote for each other. That's like
fair. And we got enough, I think, after the first vote too, where it was just like, okay, now they hate each other just because of that. Yeah. So it was kind of like, all right, cool.
I'd say more if they both had it specifically not wanted it to be talked about, you know?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan's just like a very savvy social player all the time and makes the right little subtle moves. And it seemed in this season that he just, usually when he'd end up on the right side of the numbers, it just flipped on his way at the last second. Otherwise, I feel like he'd be making a pretty deep run. So it's one of those things where you could see all the different timelines that happen. And this is probably one of the few that doesn't go right for him.
I think that if Dylan had made the swap or anything, I think he was in position to go really, really far. Preseason, I actually thought Dylan was like, I was joking around all summer that he was my sleeper pick to win, because I was like, he'll win the exact same way. Like everyone will underestimate him. There'll be all these other big threats. Somehow he'll just like somehow end up at the end and then win again. Like I was like, I could see a very similar scenario for him.
He really didn't do. It's hard to point at whatever he did wrong. Like it was just luck that that's how they decided to do the split, and Megan ended up as an Aaron vote, so that Sam had to flip. Like if the votes were flipped and Sam had to flip his vote onto Aaron would have went home. So
rough.
Yeah, I wrote. Dylan had a great quote. Another episode title potential. That's just the way the balls fly sometimes. Like he's such a quote machine. I love him.
Yeah, I really considered his line. This will be the text of the century for the episode.
Yeah,
that was in contention.
It almost was.
Sure.
Text of the century.
Matthew, do you think we should? I feel like we might need to address this. Like, there's a lot of people asking.
I think. I mean, so there was precedent. I mean, Jack's girlfriend at the time in season 4 was on production, and there were no problems there. Like, no one knew not to tell Bailey anything. He didn't tell Bailey anything. He just kind of made a judgment error in realizing that Abby was, too connected to people and had a bone to pick with production. But it wasn't, he didn't tell Bailey anything. Like, that wasn't a problem. There had been a precedent being set, and it's hard to tell somebody like, you can't join our club, you can't be on production, like when, Jack's girlfriend did production for season 4, it wasn't a problem and there were no issues. And, obviously nobody expected it would be an issue, and it didn't happen. It didn't do it intentionally. It just kind of, slight judgment error. And it was really Abby that was intentional about it. So, which sucked.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good chat going on in the Discord from Bailey, from Nick, that I think really highlights what everyone's mentality was. And I certainly don't think this is necessarily a Noah's fault kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else do we got?
Emily Beast.
I just came in and wanted to talk about Emily Beast. I mean, if Shannon tells me to call someone something, I'm going to do it. So.
Yeah. I was hoping that would catch on, because this is like Shannon's called her that for years and years, and it's just always been a Shannon thing. And then she just said that when she was recording that was like not scripted or anything. And then I was like, well, that has to go. That similar with like her when she was saying like Andrew fans unite. All those asides were complete riffs by Shannon. I was just going to put it, I told her, I gave her like a rough outline, and then I just said, make this your own, do whatever you want to do with it. So, I'd love to see Emily Beast take off as a nickname, because I think
that's the new. Should that be the new Chiron?
Oh, Chiron.
I think it has to be. Yeah,
it would be, except that it kind of needs to also it needs to say the Pringle Idol thing. So, but maybe we could
taking up too much of the frame. We can't have it.
Too much frame. Get you a cool joke. Damn.
Come on, we've done more than that, Ian. What happened to the creativity?
2 fake Jackson idols.
Yeah.
I'll work on it.
Can I just ask?
I mean, look, let's be honest. Emily Beast needed some marketing for her second run, and Shannon is her marketing executive.
Perfect.
And is doing an effective job. It completely flipped my whole opinion.
Yeah, you should put that in the end credits. Emily B, marketing executive Shannon, like that. Postseason coordination. What the fuck is the Pringle? I understand it's a building, but like, what building is it? It's really ugly. I don't know.
It's just a science building that looks like a Pringle. It's
a Pringle, like one singular
building. It's not a building. It's just like a.
No, it is a building. It's an auditorium.
Inside, I thought it was just like a.
It's
thing.
still a building. Do you know what a building is, man? It's still like
inside. I thought it was just like a structure.
No, you can go
it's
inside.
A building.
You can 100% go inside of it.
Well, okay. Well, it's like this. It's like the silver thing. You probably can't see this, but
it's not even shaped like a chip. It's shaped like the small stacks, like the small cans of them that have like the wave in it. Still, it's like a thick. Oh,
yes,
here it
that's
is.
what it looks like.
There it is. Yeah, the Pringle chip. Yeah, thank you for allowing us to give some context to that, because I didn't imagine at one point. I'm like, I don't think maybe people haven't been to Ann Arbor and seen this. It's a big Pringle chip in the middle of the campus. So that's about it.
The idols was very difficult to edit, just because there was 3 idols. It was never clear which clues led to what, and
or which one was real.
Which ones there's all these fake idols, so.
Yeah,
it was a lot to keep track of, like, from a mental standpoint.
We've got 2 idols found, 1 still not found, so we're getting close to the resolution to the original idols. So.
Even the real ones, we don't know who has them. Like, there's one idol.
We're at 1.5.
It might not even be found. We don't know.
In the edit, when you guys went like, Andrew, is the Pringle idol clue? I thought you just meant that there was like a Pringle on the ground that he picked up for a second, like a brief second. That's what I interpreted that as. Also, I really wanted to cut to like the idol hunt. I wanted like a Danielle Amanda Heroes vs Villains fight between Leia and Jackson for the idol, really badly, and I was kind of sad we didn't get that.
I love that.
George, you said you had pages upon notes. What else you got? What is this something we haven't really talked about? You really need to get
do still have the idol clue. I will look for it later in the river, I promise. But I have a lot of notes on Sam, because I feel like he's such an interesting but like great player, and yet so interestingly flawed at the same time, because he does so many and wants to do so many evil things and make moves. And you can see after the tribal, he's like excited and all that stuff. But I also think that like when it happens to him, he's like really butthurt. Like he's like, how dare you lie to me? Like, how? I can't believe that you did that. And then he'll send a text to the wrong chat about how he's lying to people. And I love that. I love that. Like, you get so caught up in the whole game where you're like, all I want to do is play hard. But then when it happens to you, you're like, no, don't play hard against me. I want you to play hard with me against other people. So I really like that. There was a line. Really quick and chicken scratch. I said this in the chat, but Cooper is just a quirked up white boy with like a little bit of a smirk. That's all Cooper is giving me right now, is just shirtless, quirked up white boy. I've never actually seen a quirked up white boy before. I have now seen it, and it's Cooper. However, I do have this quote. I forget who said it. Oh, it was I think it was like Aaron or something, but they said Sam would never forgive me. Sam would be gone. I think that was Megan and Aaron talking. I think this sums up College Survivor, is 2 different opposing ideologies of, okay, Sam's going to be really pissed at me. This game continues even afterwards because I'm friends with these people, especially in All-Stars. Like you will still see them. You will, like, for eternity potentially see them if you're actually friends. And then the other ideology is, yeah, but within the game sense of things, it doesn't matter. But Megan doesn't operate under that, kind of thing. I think this is another ultimate reason why she doesn't, she flips at the end, is because she probably has a good relationship with Sam and she doesn't want to break it, even if it's just for the game. And I think that, she ends up even crying over it because it's so emotional. And I love that. You can really you can cry and have really high emotions on regular Survivor, but here, it's really long. You're knowing these people for a long time. And for season 1 through 3 people, some of these people know each other for semesters upon semesters, have worked on this show together. And to just betray them in a game it's more than just the game. But then there's people like Aaron and people like me who are like, yeah, who cares? This is the game though. I want to win. What do you mean? So I don't know. I think it's really cool that we have this in All-Star season. It's tough to sometimes keep track of all the different relationships for sure, because everyone's friends with each other. But I do like that it impacts their opinions, and it's not just as simple as we're voting for this person for this reason. It's, but I'm their friend. What do I do? A lot of drama and intrigue with that, I feel.
Can we put the Crouch comment on the screen?
I was gonna say.
Yeah, sure. Sure, yeah. True story. Cooper didn't hit a single cup in the beer pong challenge. Pretty brutal turn for Cooper,
man.
Unfortunately.
It was a Frat star Kevin, right?
But Frat star Kevin lit it up. How about Kevin saying he shouldn't compete because he's sick, but then realizing that Will won't be good at beer pong and forcing him not to compete?
I was like, why the hell is this official in there? And then when it switched, I was like, okay, worth it.
So he's like, Will should sit out, and then it cuts to Brady being like, Will sitting out.
That's just bullying the elderly. That's so mean to Will, but also very funny.
Kevin definitely made the right call. That was one of those low key moves that was the difference between winning immunity and not winning immunity. So
yeah, what's up, Crouch? What's up, my first draft pick?
Did you guys think Crouch had a shot at going?
Oh yeah.
I was nauseous. I was so scared.
Yeah, I absolutely thought he was gonna go out again really early for some shenanigans. I thought it might be a weird thing where he has the idol, he doesn't play it, and then he reveals it afterwards. If that man got burned twice, I was gonna be really upset.
Yeah, I'm finding it really interesting that he's not running. I think a lot of people expect him to be such a force in the game right now, and then you see a little bit of it with the relationship with Cooper, where I feel like the question is whether Cooper or him is going to have the quicker downfall, and you could see it going one of two ways. But it just hasn't seemed to be there was this feeling of destiny going with Crouch for the past season and a half, and it just feels like that hasn't really come to light in the first 3 weeks.
I need it.
I need him to do something. It's hard to control a tribe with Cooper on it. I mean, a lot of people made those comments, offhandedly, why am I trusting Cooper? Why am I kissing Cooper's ass? But can I say his name? And it's just that was very accurately telling the story. A lot of people being like, wait, why am I trusting Cooper? I don't know, but I still trust him and I need to work with him. So.
Don't even have to be on the same tribe as him. You'll still be in that situation.
The parallels with Cooper and Chris Lecomte, I was watching the whole episode, what am I watching the exact same person? And then Cooper just needs to rip his shirt off, and then we're there too, because he already is going to take it off anyway.
Yeah, you might as well rip
but
it.
Yeah,
the difference is for compared to Chris and All Stars, Cooper just doesn't have the care in the world about the past relationships, whereas that's a balance we see. So I mean, to George's point, he's the one end of the spectrum where he's the dictionary definition of what we see for the college survivor player willing to cut anybody, even though he does have all these relationships. So maybe that'll change later on, but it's hard to imagine him not getting anywhere past early merge at the best at this point.
Wow. I think that's a really interesting observation, Austin. And I'm I thought the scene where Crouch showed up to Cooper and Nick on the porch was so funny to me, because you're just watching so many people sort of be what's going on right now in their faces, and it's very transparent on everyone. And I agree with Brett. I hope we still get Splay still in professionals.
Yeah, I feel
no spoilers on the Dylan confessionals. I guess we'll have to see what
okay.
I feel it's almost it's like Cooper. I thought coming into this that Cooper would have this arc that it's I've been hosting all of these people, every person in here almost, I hosted them, for the most part. It's as if he never hosted. It's as if this man is only here and as a player, and everyone is talking to no one's we got to get this guy out. He's he knows us all really well. He was the host all that. You wouldn't even know if you saw a different release, if you only saw this season. Well, I guess the first episode, but it's kind of nutty that his arc is not about that. So I'm really interested to see what it is about. And I kind of agree that there's got to be something with Crouch, whether they're, it's opposing forces or one, falls first or something. I don't know. But yeah, I do really like that swing scene with those three. It feels like weird tension and awkwardness that has to come into play later as well.
Okay.
Oh, that swing scene's another like.
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say that's another like classic college survivor type thing. Like only because they live across the street from each other could you have Crouch accidentally crash a meeting where Nick is just seriously talking about like, could we vote this guy out?
Why would they do it on the porch? Why would you do a confession on the porch when someone you're trying to vote out lives across the street?
Well, that's a different question, but the answer is because Cooper doesn't expect that to be the conversation. Cooper's like, oh, me and Nick are meeting right before tribal. This is just gonna be us confirming we're voting out Emily. And then Nick shows up and is like, how about something else?
I do want to give props to Nick. I'm very interested to see what happened with why he didn't make a move, because I did feel like it was the right thing for him. I don't really see his path to the other people. However, he does seem to be in pretty good graces with most people right now. And even though he was paired with Bailey, I don't really feel like he ever was a real threat to go at this point. So I think given like the threat level that he faced and a lot of concerns people had about him preseason, and like he is on my draft team, I'm pretty sure. So I think, but so I'm biased in this too. But I feel like he is integrating pretty well and like has the right attitude about everything compared to a lot of people this season of what the game should look like for them.
I think that's a really good point, Austin. Like, I love Nick. I'm a Nick believer, and like, I really like the way that he sort of assessed that Bailey clearly is like, okay, well, we're a pair then, and Nick was like, are we? I don't know. Let's figure this out first. And yeah, we talked about it earlier, Ian. The idea that this isn't really lying. This was genuinely something that was going to happen potentially, and then it kind of fizzled out. I'm curious, if you guys can speak to why, but just before that, I want to check, is my swing life away joke, not landing? There's a song about swinging life away on porches, and I just want you to play it under one of the clips of Cooper just on his little swing. But if it's not landing, I'll stop saying it.
In chat, I thought you just came up with some lyrics, and I was
no, it's called "Swing Life Away" by Rise Against. Just everybody look it up. You'll get what I mean.
All right,
I'll check it out now. We can add a whole theme for porch scenes.
Every porch scene.
Well, I was also freaking out because Chris LeCompte and Eric also had porch scenes of themselves together, and I was like, "Wait, is Cooper what, come on?"
The Chris LeCompte and Eric and Cooper and Crouch comparison is an interesting one that I like that you brought this up. I think there's definitely some parallels there for sure.
I hate to make it the connections to the same thing all the time, but it's
no. I think it's interesting. I think that as the season goes on, people who have seen both will notice a lot of interesting comparisons and contrasts, in just the way it plays out, because I do think it's sort of natural to a degree that the dynamics are similar in certain aspects and dissimilar in others. The ways that Michigan players, I think, are a little more just neurotic, or they're a little more unhinged, I think, than the people. The people in Maryland come off as a little bit more normal, if that makes sense. The people on some of the people on Survivor Michigan, I don't know how they totally operate in the real world setting. Outside of Survivor, Kevin, there's some others. It's just how do you go about regular life? I'm not totally clear on that.
I did love Kevin. Even not being able to handle himself with the frat boy thing, where he's like, I just can't. It was breaking the fourth wall finally, and I appreciated that moment of just the real you.
And he's saying I want Sam Morris out. I don't know why. Yeah, he needs to be out.
He's a dangerous man. He's a very, very dangerous man in this game. He hasn't really been involved with a vote yet. But the moment he is, I'm fearful for everyone in his path, because he is a man with nothing to lose. He just wants to do it all.
I wanted to point out something that I really thought was interesting that I think you were trying to show in the edit, Ian, which is that the way that Bailey's meetings are being perceived by Andrew versus Nick, because I thought it was so fascinating. And also Cooper, people were saying oh, I think Bailey has a lot of connections. I don't think Emily Paddock has some. And then someone was like, Bailey's just talking to a lot of people. She doesn't have any connections. I really love the way that it demonstrates that there are so many outside perceptions of one action, and it can change the whole intention behind the action. And also Bailey having friends, I guess. Love it.
Yeah, everything is about like the tiniest things you say to people, you know. And in this episode, you know, Bailey probably doesn't think much of it when she says, "Oh, I heard that in passing," but that becomes a huge thing to Nick. And similarly, some of the stuff that Lucy and Adam say, it causes Megan to flip. And I'm not sure. Adam, I'm not sure what he meant. If he meant something different than saying you're on the bottom, I'm not sure what he meant when he said that the three of us are close. But I do think that when Lucy said to her, we only need to stick together one more week, I think that she did mean it in terms of, oh, there might be a swap coming or something, and not in terms of we don't have to be working together.
I will also say, outside of like the two that had to walk away to talk about the vote, during that tribal, I think Lucy was like an MVP at that tribal. I feel like she played that incredibly well, because it wasn't the idea that like those three were like away from Meg. It was mainly like Lucy was like, hey, me, Adam, like we trusted you, like we voted the way we wanted to. It was just Sam preserving his life. And of course he's going to do that. And it worked out for him. So like, you can still work with us. It's fine. And I think that was a really good observation to make by her, because otherwise it does, like, she's still thinking like it's those three and I'm on the bottom. But realistically, it's a great move to pull there. We didn't lie. We voted the way we said we were going to.
Just a quick aside. I don't know if this ended up working better or not. It probably did, but like, this was the only tribal I wasn't at. And usually like, there's no talking between a revote, and like usually like Akshay, like usually at these tribals, like Akshay and I are like, they'll be like, wait, what's the rule on this? And like Akshay or I will answer, like shout out Akshay, like we're the ones to like know the rules and stuff. So I wasn't at this one, so like everybody just kind of forgot. Like it's easy to forget, that the talking happens after the second vote and not in between. But it got us some great content, and I don't know what would have happened if Megan would have just had to go and make that decision on the spot. She might have flipped on Reva, but it wouldn't have been unanimous.
In season 3, the Rock Draw episode, they got to talk between
a little bit,
revote also.
It was a little bit.
I think that Survivor Michigan to these revotes seems to operate on a very loose definition of the rules.
It made better for better content than I think what the actual rule is, which is just straight to the revote. So like,
I personally have no issue with it,
but it was better content. So
I follow the rule of good TV, and it was good TV, so I was cool with it.
So does Abby.
It's not like a major rule change. It's not like
I was in season 1, we had like 5 revotes, and the one at the merge, you mentioned Akshay. Specifically, Akshay wanted to talk like brutally, like after the first one, and being clear to like shut it down. We were like, no way, no way. And that turned out with great TV, but this worked out a lot as well. It doesn't really matter, I guess, at the end of the day, maybe for the people that give voted out during it, but. Yeah, I was definitely like in chat. I'm like, wait a minute, my Survivor wiki, senses are tingling. This is not the correct order. Whatever.
When I heard that they did,
the whole point of what we're doing is like, the whole point of what it is trying to get people to go to your side. So having people, there's no reason why the forum is unfair to have people try to go to your side. It's in front of everybody. Like I was totally fine with it. I will say that I disagree with you, George, and I am a huge Lucy stan. I was freaking out that she was not handling tribal the right way.
Really? Okay.
If only because like I think everything she said was true, but I felt like Lucy can come off like very intense and strong, which is part of why she's so fun. And like in that moment, the like softer approach is like I think the way to go to some extent, while also like being fully transparent. I did think she brought it back in to the point of what you said in terms of like talking about what had happened before, and that's ultimately probably what won it out, is that they had established the trust. But I was for a moment where Dylan is playing the Adam, I'll trust you'll make the right decision, and Lucy's like, well, like we trusted you, we put our trust in you, and like you have to stay away from frustration from people in those moments, because you have to make them feel like they're going to trust them long term. It clearly worked out, and I was rooting for Lucy and Sam in that situation, so I was just more feeling like, no, please don't.
Maybe if it was someone else, like if someone else, she was talking to, maybe that would make more sense. I didn't really think of the fact that like of all the people, like that's maybe not the best person to do it to, because like Megan is already like emotionally compromised in that situation. I just thought from like maybe a logic standpoint, she made the most sense. Maybe I was too like high on adrenaline to realize she was being a little aggressive there, but that's a fair point.
They did have the most logical argument, and I did think she flipped it well when she was like, they're just trying to save themselves. And like, Aaron's so like complete Aaron in terms of like dramatic of like, we'll be your allies and fight for you till
we will be your loyal soldiers. Like sign up for the Aaron troops.
Yeah.
with the military guns saluting in the background. Yeah. So I do think it worked in that sense of like, yeah, like look at how this is transparent. But I was getting worried in the moment. And then Sam, it was like he was trying to formulate a response and just had no idea what to say and just was totally silent.
He needed to stay out.
I couldn't believe. Yeah.
Naomi, do you think that Dylan should have said more? Like, I feel like he was one of the people who didn't talk the most during that tribal. I feel like he needed to be one of the people to talk.
I loved what Aaron, I actually really loved Aaron's kind of like very direct energy, because I think that what Aaron and Dylan needed to convey in that moment was like, no, this is not just a move for us. This is a move for you as well. And Adam, like, you don't want to get left behind, do you? On the other hand, I feel like, the thing is, this reminds me of like Mafia a little bit, where it's like, you got to stick up for yourself. You got to make sure that the person feels bad about voting you out. So you need to be the most vocal.
Yeah.
And I think Sam really did that quite effectively. He was right behind Megan. He was like really pleading, I think, in a not too obnoxious or suck up way. And I think if anyone's going to play Survivor, watch how Sam kind of handles potentially going home here in this vote. Because he does, I think, maintain a level of composure that would be very hard to maintain otherwise if you're in Sam's spot.
Agreed.
Trying to think of what else. I feel like we've hit most of the,
just as we head into the swap and look forward, obviously it's very hard to predict what the swap tribes are going to be, but anybody have a feeling of somebody who they think could be the next boot or is definitely going after the swap before the merge? Like who we think is really in danger? I know it's hard to tell when we don't know what the tribes are, but any just real quick from each of you, like who do you think is really in danger?
This is tough. Everyone really knows each other. I feel like if I'm just going off of like people who aren't who aren't talking to a lot of people, or at least don't have like true connections to people, I mean, you would think a swap would help Aaron. I don't know. I feel like, you know, I feel like when I do see her talk across tribal, I don't know if it really is like a strong bond necessarily. Worried about Jesse, but that's just because
Jesse's my pick.
Yeah, Jesse's definitely in a position where it's like, has she been in an alliance talk? No. So definitely rough. I don't know. Bailey could still be in trouble because Nick's trying to like I think she believed was her number one ally is trying to literally like jump ship right now. So never know what that, but God, there's just so many interpersonal relationships. I have no clue.
Can't really disagree with any of those. I mean, I think Aaron, it's just hard to see how she can carve out a long-term spot here, but we did say that in season 3. So, I mean, it's not impossible, but it just doesn't feel like she has the overall approval rating to do that. I would be fairly worried about Leah too. I feel like we've seen a decent amount of kind of not the best looks for her. And I feel like it could be hard for her to click with some of the people that she's not connected to already later on. Or maybe Jackson's able to overcome things and it seems like they're being built up for some tension. So, I mean, it's hard to not see one of Megan. It's hard to not envision one of Megan Jackson going soon, but I also kind of feel like they still have legs and will somehow overcome it. So if that doesn't happen, then I feel like Leah could be a blowback from that.
I also just wanted to briefly say, because I think we hadn't really talked about it a lot, but the Emily P going home, I'm curious. I think it's kind of a terrible move for Cooper and Sarah, people who are like feasibly very close with her. And I didn't understand why they would keep Bailey in necessarily. And I probably just don't understand the intricacies of that. But I thought it was kind of crazy that Emily went home in this situation. And that Bailey seemed to be somewhat sort of not ever going to go home. I will say, Sarah G, legend, named and come up once. She's an icon. She's the moment. She's staying around. And also Emily P's cat is a superstar, and I zoomed in on him.
Oh my God, we were all looking at it.
This is the whole chat. It was just the cat. What the cat was on screen.
Ian, like you did like the intrusive thought. We were all like, oh, zoom in on the cat, and then you went, got it.
That cat was just sitting in such a like prime position, you know.
It's really taking information and processing it.
Totally agree about Sarah. I think Sarah needs another whiteboard or pin board, random faces on circle confessional very soon. need as much of her as possible. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why that happened either, because it seemed like last episode, at least, like Emily P, Cooper, Sarah, like they were kind of not a force, but they were like, spearheading some stuff for the most part, pulling in Crouch for the most part. I don't know. That seems kind of weird.
I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, spoiler alert for Survivor New York season 4. Sarah did not vote out Emily at the final 4. Like, it went to a revote because we didn't do a final 4 challenge, and Emily got through and won the game. So in some ways, I'm wondering if this is Sarah recognizing that, like, at some point you got to vote out Emily P, and you might as well take the opportunity. I'd be curious to hear what she has to say about it.
So much lore I don't know about. I need to find this lore.
This lore.
And you got 2.5 for buff for New York.
Oh,
so
yeah. Orgs, baby.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that more or less covers it. Is there anything else anyone really wants to address or bring up? Thank you guys for coming on. This was obviously I knew this was going to be a big episode, an exciting episode, and a very controversial one. And I was really nervous about this one as well, because especially with how popular of characters Megan and Jackson are, to know that there's some aspect of their game that was unfair, I knew was going to upset a lot of people, as it upset us at the time. And rightfully so.
So is Jackson 3-0 in challenges, and he's 3-0 in fake idols, or what's the stats on that?
Well, his fake idols for now are about wrapped up, since Adam and Sam know they're fake. But
I expect him to reset his name in the Discord to like properly reflect his challenge title again.
Oh, definitely.
What still sucks too is that like the fake idols were so believable too, because they looked the same. So like when people found them, they're like, oh wait, no, these have to be real because they look the same. This must be, there's no way people put 16 of the same fake idol everywhere. So man, it just sucks that got found out too.
Like eventually they would have gotten found out at some point. Like obviously it's not great. It would have gotten found, but yeah, I agree.
The only thing I will say is that I do think that ultimately Megan and Jackson's relationship would have come out, and the fake idols would have come out, and how Megan and Jackson would have had to deal with it wouldn't have been that dissimilar to what happened. But it might have been like much later on, or in just in a different way.
Will we get an Oscar cameo at some point? Can you spoil it?
Yeah. Oh my God, that tea.
Unfortunately, no. I would have loved to have an Oscar cameo. I would have loved to have an Oscar confessional, but I think that unfortunately, as he actually just didn't like the idea of, because the story behind it is that he asked Megan out, and she said, "Well, no, I have a boyfriend, but you could be my fake boyfriend." And so like. I think that then at first he was like, okay, sure, I guess. And then when she asked for the party, he, was like, this makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. And like, I don't really want to do this.
Megan.
So I don't think we were going to get an Oscar confessional, but that would have been great to have.
I feel like he should have played the long game, like fake boyfriend easily becomes real boyfriend. Like that would have been the story.
There's a rom-com there for sure.
There's something
Season 6 Oscar winner.
Instead of 16 candles, it's 16 idols.
16 idols with Megan, Jackson, and Oscar.
If Oscar's like, you know what, I won't hide 18 fake idols and put you in a really terrible spot with your allies, maybe that would have gone over well with her.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I just want to say, for anyone who, I hope no one, stops watching the season or anything because of these events or feel that it totally delegitimizes everything. I think that right now this feels like, the biggest earthquake in the world, but like once you've seen the whole thing in the grand scheme of everything, there are so many interesting storylines still to come, and there's so much just insanity that's going to go down that you'd be doing a disservice to yourself if you stopped watching at this point. And in the grand scheme of everything, I think this is going to seem like a small potatoes probably.
Can I read a great comment that's on Discord? It says, imagine if Abby went up to production and said, add me to the cast right now or I'll leak Megan Jackson, and they just falugate her.
Oh no!
I don't know what we would have done if someone had done something like that.
I would have considered it. I mean, it was terrible to go through on production side. So yeah, I probably would have just done it to not have to go through the headache of having everybody mad at production. So
She'd still leak it. I think she'd still do
Yeah,
it.
probably.
Yeah.
But you'd put her on and then she would leak it anyways. Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
I think also it's interesting because it's like Jackson's saying like, why are you coming after us if you're mad at production? And I think the disconnect there is that like this is just the biggest secret she knows, you know?
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
like the way to get back at them.
Juicy.
Yeah.
Oh, Abby.
Yeah, I was saying there was a lot of jokes I was making that like Abby's about to go from like a fairly unknown or not super memorable season 2 Survivor Michigan character to like one of the most infamous figures in like all of college Survivor.
It definitely is true.
Like I was like, she's gonna be infamous after this, and before this, you ask the average person, they're gonna be like, I don't remember who that was.
I told you.
It's gonna be a convention between like her and Mimi, and just like
Yeah.
So many.
Did you have to make the intro her too, though? Did we need
the whole logo too? The logo.
The logo.
I was saying,
much,
Ian, you had to think about. You might inspire some copycat killers if they can know that they're going to get this airtime and a whole intro package to themselves. Who's going to not do this?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about the repercussions of the like future players who might see this. I was really just thinking about like if this has happened, we have to deal with it. I was like, we may as well have some fun with it and have a good time of it as best we can.
I wonder if this is gonna drop Abby in the all college survivor rankings list. Maybe we'll drop that a couple places.
I think she might rise just in terms of notoriety.
Oh god.
But yeah, I don't know. It was a tough situation.
Yeah.
Matthew, I'm sure, could attest to just how
it was
to go
top 5, like honestly, like worst day of my life. Just having everybody pissed at production, not being able to give anybody a good answer. Everybody wanted different things, and we couldn't go back and undo it. And it wasn't something that we purposely did, so we were just in a shit spot no matter what. And yeah, glad it's technically over. Wasn't great to have to kind of relive it and look at some of those group messages again because it brought back how terrible that day was. But like Ian said, it's not, there are a million things that happen this season, and this is just, probably the worst thing, but everything else, is really awesome. So
yeah.
Well, congrats on getting through it. Know the feeling of trying to get through episodes you don't want people to see or whatever. So thanks for having us on. I faded out of human existence about 2 hours ago. So thank you to Shannon for recapping my synopsis after this and for all of that for us. But thank you both and everyone on the production team. And it's not giving us a shortage of things to talk about. Certainly,
that's true.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming. Obviously, because I knew that all three of you would have very, very insightful thoughts on this subject.
Did we though?
Did we?
I'd say you did. Let me ask you, Austin, would you have given Abby her own title sequence?
No
way. I think you're the one person who would do it.
Yeah, it's just you. I remember say though, like I mean, we have different styles. Where like I'm not one for like too many of the gags, although they're always fun. I did laugh out loud at the intro. Like I have to admit, like I was like, oh my god, Ian, nothing has ever been as ridiculous as this. But it was very well done. But
I will say that the people the other Survivor Michigan people who watched like the rough cuts and stuff, they thought that was a joke, and I was not going to actually include that. And then then they were like, oh, this is like a funny gag, but we're not going to actually do this, right? And I was like, oh no, like this is going to happen.
Well, because you gave us like all the Abby stuff. We're like, okay, cool. And then there was like a transition, and then we had more Abby from like the idol perspective, like the fact that she talked about that. And then I thought you were just gonna put her at the beginning of the intro and then go to everyone. No, everyone is Abby, and then she's the logo. So you did the most. You really.
At this point, you need to have Abby come in and like reveal the answer to who has the idol between Andrew and Emily Beast. Like she might as well just all the secrets to the audience now too. This is Shannon's responsibility. Shannon will give us
after this. Abby was like, she was like cut off in every aspect as someone could be cut off. Like she was like, she would, if she ever asked to come to anything, people would be like, absolutely not. Like you're not invited to any things anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, you tank your relationship.
Oh man, juicy.
So yeah, I can say that we will definitively not be seeing Abby again the rest of the season. All right, well, yeah, that was the Survivor Michigan episode 3 after show. It was a bit of a shit show after show, but it was good. Oh, and the last thing I want to say is that next week's episode, has the first scene I ever edited for All Stars, and I actually edited it years and years ago, like around the time All Stars was like being filmed. And so this week's episode is like, one of those kind of iconic, just sort of like memorable episodes in that sense. But next week's is one of my personal favorites, and there's just a moment in there that I feel we've been building towards for multiple seasons, I would say. So I'm really excited about that one because there's a very particular scene that to me is like the culmination of multiple characters' storylines across a few different seasons. So yeah, so I'm excited
here, baby.
Excited for people to see that moment. And I think it'll be pretty obvious what it is when you get to it. But yeah.
Does Ben come in and then drop like Abby, Megan and Jackson, and then that also
it would probably be
Aaron just starts crying. Like
I will say
after Will starts crying. Yeah.
Camilla tells everybody about Cooper's phantom vote. Yeah.
Cooper finds the idol in the volleyball court. That's gotta be it.
Oh, they reveal that Cooper and Camilla are dating? That'd be great.
No, George. Cooper finds Ben in the volleyball court and then triggers another series of events.
It's like, have you seen this email? And he holds the phone up. Yeah, perfect.
Oh, next week's challenge is really fun. I remember what next week's challenge is too. It's really fun.
Does it involve watermelons? Because if it doesn't, it's not the funnest challenge.
I guess all of them are fun, but this one's pretty fun too. So.
Does it involve static kissing or foot licking?
It's probably not as fun as this one.
I will say that the foot licking, it should have been you have to lick the bottom, the sole of the foot.
I didn't
right?
know it was that.
The top of the foot seems like BS.
That was gross at all. Yeah.
No, I'm like the top of the sole, the top of the foot is nothing.
You should have had to go in between. You should have had to like go in.
No, don't.
I'm so sorry.
I will say that part of that challenge that was like, the idea was, I think we kind of thought maybe some people wouldn't do some of the dares, but no, of course it's All Stars. Nobody refused a single dare. So
Kevin had mono, and everyone still kissed him. So whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh God.
All right.
So yeah, that was thank you guys for coming on. That was the Survivor Michigan episode 3 after show, and we'll be back next week with the more chaos, more shenanigans, more drama. So yeah,
see everybody next week.
See you guys soon.
Bye.